May 2023 on the Bourbon Trail near Lexington, Kentucky.
Hi, this is Janet, and I'm Sly. Back in 2016, we both decided it was time to stop working, buy an RV, and start traveling the country and the world. And once the RV was pretty much the way we wanted it, we started our travels, and we've been doing it ever since. So join us as we explore this country and the world, and maybe we can even meet up with some of you along the way.
Well, it's time to leave the Louisville Bourbon area and make our way to Elkhorn Creek RV Park near Lexington to continue the Bourbon Trail. This park is pretty. It's green. I like that. And the next day takes us to our first stop, which is the Four Roses Distillery. This was a neat-looking distillery. Had a very Tuscan Italian vibe. We came down here because, well, I don't drink Four Roses, and we wanted to meet Janet's sister Megan, because she's going to join us for a while. Of course, we had a chance to look around the distillery a little bit and catch up with Megan. And of course, we had to do our tastings. Now, I don't usually drink Four Roses, but I will tell you that it's good bourbon, and I would recommend somebody at least try it. One of the things available is to have a bottle engraved personally for you, and Megan the Magnificent, well, she had one made. More on that later. After enjoying Four Roses, we made our way to our next stop, which was the Woodford Reserve Distillery. This was another nice-looking distillery, although if I'll make one comment, and that is that the gift shop was on one side of the street, and the tasting area was clean over on the other side of the street. That made it a little hard to taste and go buy what you really liked. But no big deal, we had our tasting, and we bought what we really liked. We also had a chance to try some of their experimental bourbons. I wasn't that impressed, but you know, different tastes, different people. Woodford Reserve also let you engrave bottles, and this time Megan had one engraved that said, Megan the Maleficent. So Megan could be magnificent or maleficent. It depends on what kind of mood she's in. And what kind of mood she's in determines which bourbon she feeds you when you visit her. So either way, you win! The next day, it was Jeptha Krieg Distillery. Now, I never heard of this one until we got there. Again, a cool looking distillery with some pretty good bourbons, but I'll tell you, they gave us the samples at this place in plastic cups. And I'm sorry, you should not serve good bourbon in plastic cups. Little did we know this was going to happen again, but we enjoyed the bourbon and headed on over to our next stop at the Bulleit Distillery. Janet and I both enjoy Bulleit, so we were looking forward to this. The distillery itself, well, as usual, very cool. And they had a nice selection of bourbons and ryes that you could give it a shot. Since this was a beautiful day, we enjoyed our samples outside on their patio, and I'll tell you, it was gorgeous sitting out there and enjoying our bourbon and the beautiful weather. And so, we continued our trek to the Whiskey Thief Distilling Company, again, one I had never heard of. Now this was different. This was more rural. This was not some huge mansion that you enjoyed your tasting in. This was just a little distillery down this little dirt road. Whiskey Thief was named after this thing they shove into the barrel to extract a little bit of the alcohol from the barrel for tastings or filling up small bottles. And that's the way this place worked. They did not sell bottles. They sold empty bottles. You went up to the barrel and you filled your own. Oh, and did I say this place was small and rural and kind of out back? Yeah, they had an outhouse. I wish I could tell you that the bourbon here was good or bad or something, but I can't because the disappointing thing is they don't sell samples. You cannot get a flight of their bourbon to taste. So I was not about to buy a bottle of their bourbon without having to taste it first. I'm not sure about the logic of that, but such is life. So we continued driving these beautiful rural back roads from one distillery to another, and the next one is Buffalo Trace. And this next one, Buffalo Trace, is also our last one because this is our last day. Now, Buffalo Trace has this beautiful driveway that you have to drive in order to get to the distillery itself. It's a big distillery, and it's by far one of the most popular distilleries out here. When you come down this beautiful road, you see Buffalo Trace Distillery. You go just a little further, and you see this ridiculously long serpentine line of people waiting to get in. I mean, really, I've seen lines at Disneyland that weren't this long. But that's what you get when you want to sample a popular bourbon. So we stood in line, had fun yakking, and eventually were allowed to enter the premises of Buffalo Trace. Oh! Once we got inside, we had a chance to sample some of their bourbon. Again, disappointing, they gave it to us in a plastic cup. They shouldn't do that. I mean, come on. You're a big distillery. Spring for some glass. We also found out that the reason for the long line was that they were selling some of their more rare bourbons, which are difficult to find anywhere you look. And they sell them for like less than half price. So yeah, people do line up to get these things. And of course, I also partook of the great prices. And yeah, I know I said this was our last distillery tour, but on the way home we said, oh, forget it, let's do one more. So we went to Castle and Key Distillery. Again, another one I've never heard of before. And again, they gave us samples in plastic cups. I mean, come on, people. But the distillery itself, beautiful. I mean, why do you think they call it Castle? Huh? The grounds on this distillery, gorgeous. This giant spring in the middle, river running alongside, green woods everywhere. I mean, it is a place for pictures. And as I understand it, people come in just to take pictures. I mean, how could you not? But this really was the end. And this is our haul. Oh my God. That's a lot of bourbon that we bought over our time here at the Bourbon Trail. And that also ends our trek here in Lexington on the Bourbon Trail. So I hope that you enjoyed following along with us on the Bourbon Trail. Oh, and by the way, if you know anybody who's willing to donate a portion of their liver, I think we could probably use it after this little trip. But tomorrow we move on. And Janet and I both hope that you join us as we explore our next stop.